Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Mackenzie, and I will be sharing with y'all my Leuchtturm A6 pocket notebook today. And this is something that I was using in my previous video that I uploaded last month. And I realized that I hadn't really shared a whole lot about this notebook at all, which normally I will share about it on my Instagram. I'll post my spreads on there and, you know, approach it in that way. But I have literally only shared, as of today, I've only shared this notebook twice on my Instagram. And there is like 9 months of journal spreads in here. And so I thought it would be a lot more efficient to just film a YouTube video walking y'all through the spreads and showing y'all what I did in this notebook. This is my third A6 pocket that I have used in this way. And I originally got this idea and was inspired by Helen from the Coffee Monsters Co., who also uses this for other purposes, but felt really inspired, so I decided to pick it up. This is my third one. I have since moved on to my fourth notebook, and you can see there is quite a substantial size difference between the two. So I am going to get right into this because I originally was filming this, like, this is my second take, okay? I had to stop after I got maybe halfway through this notebook and realized that it was already at the 33-minute mark, and I was like, we gotta get this going. We gotta speed things up a little bit because I don't know if I would want to watch a video that is that long walking through a journal. So we're gonna go ahead and get into it. And I may provide some context for some of the spreads just to give some detail about them, but I'm going to try to not spend too much time on things because this is a 170-page notebook, y'all. You know, we got some pages to flip through. So yeah, at the beginning of every notebook that I will usually use the front, like, inside cover as a landing page, a place for me to put like little knickknacks and stickers and things that spoke to me during this time. So, and I will always put my name and the time period in which I was using this notebook. So in this case, January to September of 2025. And I just have some stickers here, some fun bits of like packaging and things. I mean business. I sure do. And then this is my index. I use this as anyone would use an index. It primarily just points to pages that I want to be able to flip to a lot easier. So the month, like when each month begins, book reviews, and just general things that I want to have easier access to than having to just like flip through, you know, an entire notebook to access. So there we go. And then the first page that I will use here, page number 1, is always sort of like an introduction to this notebook. So coincidentally, this notebook also aligned with the beginning of the new year. So I did a oh my god, it's 2025, time means nothing sort of spread right here, and included some goals that I wanted to keep in mind for the year as well, and some Trader Joe's stickers, because, you know, that's what happens. You will notice in this notebook that I do not use the monthly spreads that I set up for myself. Like every single month, I do not use it. Why? I don't know. I've learned from it. I've moved on, but that is just a trend, and that's just the way that it is. You know, to quote Celine Dion, that's the way it is. So you can see here I kind of used it. I got some goals going. I got a to-do list, some dates up there to remember, share a funny meme with friends. Yeah, not much going on here, but that's what it is. And if you are wanting maybe a monthly spread to incorporate into a notebook like this, hey, here's some ideas maybe, or what not to do, you know, take what you need from it. And then we get into the daily spreads here. This is my husband's birthday, so this is sort of like a double spread that I'll do, where I have one day over here and then another on the opposite page. And it's actually a really great space because it gives me, you know, my to-do list space, and then I can just add a little bit of, you know, reflection. You know, I'm not required to talk about my day for, you know, 2 pages if I don't want to. So Sometimes I will do this if I'm tight on time or whatever. So there we go. And then we did go to Austin to celebrate my husband's birthday. So we went to Bird Biscuit, which is amazing. We did go to Chili's, which we hadn't been to in like years. So that was interesting. That's actually where I got this little chili, like tarot card type of thing. I think it was on the menu. I can't remember. We went to Suerte, which is a really good restaurant in Austin. I think I got a JetPens order as well, which is where this comic strip comes from. We went to a really great Taiwanese tea place, and we also went to Book People, but I did not put anything in here for Book People, weirdly enough. We got a spread here. This is a double day spread, 7th and 8th of January, and I was kind of channeling like a newspaper strip right here, which I thought was cool. These are like the 3 days of cold winter weather that we get here in Central Texas, so I had to break out the colors, the stickers, all of that to commemorate that, which you can see here. Winter storm warnings and ice and stuff. I started reading Mansfield Park. Take note of that. January 20th was when I started. All right. And then this was a fun spread right here. And this was when I was starting to get back into the idea of making YouTube videos, and I wanted to try something new with the filming, and I decided to not do this like at the end of the day, so it doesn't matter. But I thought the idea, the layout of this spread was kind of cool, because I actually did like a frame by frame sort of look to help me visualize what I wanted this to look like, which I thought was cool. So I did it all in pencil in case I wanted to change things up later, or if I didn't like something, you know, I can just go in and erase it. But that's what I did there. It snowed on this morning. Rare. We do not get snow, hardly at all. And then this was a place to commemorate our red envelopes for Chinese New Year. Year of the Snake. This is the one that my husband gave me, and I gave him this one. So I thought that was fun to include in there. And then this is moving into February a bit. We got a Valentine's Day package from my in-laws, and then I got the flu, which was a journey. Yeah, flu was not fun this past year. But I did get a sticker, so... Fearless Patient. And then we move into February, and this is the monthly spread for February. This is the only one I completed, and that is solely because I had a lot to say in February. On one hand, it was a great month because my husband and I celebrated our 10-year anniversary together, but on the other hand, I was hospitalized after getting 2 impacted wisdom teeth removed that did not come with an antibiotic afterwards. And I got a massive infection in my neck, which caused a huge abscess to form, which I then had to have surgically removed and drained. And it was a journey. I cannot even tell you the number of antibiotics and steroids I was on in February, because like we would be here for, again, 33 minutes at the halfway mark, because it was a lot, and it was very it was pretty traumatic, I'm not gonna lie. So I had to sort of, you know, document that a little bit down here, and yeah. And then March. February, I was just like, no, we're not doing February. It's not the time or the place to be reminiscing on February. And my goal in March was to literally just make it to April, because that's the state that we were in. You can see here, this is where I started trying to think of different ways to like kind of make this space a little bit more interesting and easier for me to manage. I don't know why I thought that would be the case, because I clearly did not keep up with this. I wanted to like print out some pictures and put them in here to sort of, you know, remember the month by. I didn't use it. I just didn't use it. And this was when I began trying to make an effort to use this notebook a little bit more. So, yeah, March 28th. And you can see continuing on with the whole like using this notebook thing, like I loved this spread, used it a lot, got a lot out of it. You know, you can see here lots of stuff to work with, content wise. So we did a wonderful job on this, but this is something that I like this spread so much, I'll probably carry it on, you know, into future notebooks because it is fun. I just need to freaking use it. You know what I'm saying? And I even put like a little tab up here to be like, hey, flip to this page, you know, to try to encourage me to use it. But man, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind for me. That's just what it is. So anyway, moving on. Same thing here. I got this idea from Helen, and she kind of created this spread to show a three day like look right here, and then priorities, ideal like tasks that you would ideally like to get to, and then if time permits, which I thought was a really cool way to sort of break down maybe a more like intimidating, overwhelming to-do list. Yeah, didn't use it at all, so yep. Moving on. April, here we go. Completely blank. An effort was kind of made. That was it. You can see I did take that same idea from a couple pages ago and use it on this page, which is cool. I don't know if I really liked it in practice because I never used it again. Spoiler. But I did try to use it again, so I'll give myself that. And then a weekend spread that I did not add anything to, but it must have been a busy weekend, so there we go. I do like the colors of this spread. I think I might try to use this same kind of design again in my new notebook because it's fun. May, again. I love this part right here where I'm like, yeah, I've done a great job anyway, and then I just don't do anything else again. June. I promise you it gets better after this. Yeah, and then this was another Saturday where we went to Austin. We went to Book People, of course. We went to Laura, which is a great restaurant. And I finally went to the Paper and Craft Pantry, which is in East Austin. So if you're visiting Austin, it's kind of out of the way a little bit. But I did finally get to go there, which I crossed off my list finally after years. And then this spread I really loved just for like the design and like the layout and the stickers and everything. It's just super fun. And it was halfway through the year, so I was like, you know what, let's make an effort in this journal. And effort I did make because July is basically where things started getting a lot more consistent. Not on this spread. Again, the monthly spreads are not where it's at, like at all. But at least I did put down some stickers, you know. We did a little, didn't mark anything off my to-do list, but you know, we did do something. So that's better than what we had previously. I started reading a bit more here, which you'll start seeing throughout this notebook. I was getting into my reading groove. I was getting into a good pace. And that is honestly, like, when I start reading, when I start feeling good about books, that is where I am most like myself. When I am not reading, it's like, I wouldn't say I'm not being myself, but I'm just like, there's something off in my life that is requiring me to shift my priorities elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? So July was when I started just feeling good again. And I started reading, I started using this notebook more, and I was getting into more of a rhythm, which I love. And when I'm reading, I like to post, or I like to include some book reviews in my notebooks. So this one was one for The Most by Jessica Anthony, which is sort of like it's short fiction. I don't know if it's necessarily, I guess it's a novella. But I did like it, and this is basically where I will put my review, or mainly my thoughts on the book, and sort of like if there's a cultural conversation happening with the book, or like something that I'm catching with some of the other reviews I've been reading about, I will make note of it in here because I think it's just interesting to think about it in the context of my experience and the book that I read and all of that. So yes, and I also include the book reviews in the index so I know where they are in my notebook if I ever want to reference them again. So yeah. And then this is a really fun spread that I did to go along with Libro FM's summer reading challenge that they did. And basically it involved a bingo card, and you just went through, and if you got a bingo, you got, I think, a free audiobook or something. I think it was a free audiobook. And then if you got like the full board, you were entered into a grand prize, which I did not do, but I did get several bingos, or almost several bingos. I don't know. I only got one bingo. What am I talking about? But this was really fun, and I wanted to document sort of all the different like challenges that I was able to complete, and be able to flip back and, you know, see what exactly I was reading for this, and, you know, all of that. So if you're interested in Libro FM, it's a fantastic alternative to Audible as far as audiobooks go, and they are a wonderful company. Very transparent in their practices and how they do things, which is all on their website. I do have a referral link, so if you want to use it, I think you get something and I get something. I'll list it down below. No pressure, but it's a great place for audiobooks if you're interested in that. This is another spread that I actually really like this one because I love the colors that I used here. And then this washi tape, it was just really fun. And this was 4th of July weekend, which this spread is like really fun and cute with the stickers and the lettering, but it was actually a really hard weekend because that was when the floods hit Central Texas. That's actually like the last time we got rain. It is so dry here. It's early October and it is dry here. But when it rains, it pours here. So this is when Central Texas, Kerrville, you know, the all of the campsites and stuff got basically washed away in that general area, and it was very emotionally hard this weekend because I live in Central Texas, so it was a hard weekend, unfortunately. But it's always good to write about stuff, and, you know, that's where I was kind of channeling some of my thoughts. I was into this spread as well. I was reading at this time. I did have a DNF for this book, which was unfortunate, and it was a physical copy that I bought with my own money, which is always just a gut punch, but, you know, it's all right. It's all right. It happens. So, yeah. And I thought I was going to love it, hence why it's in here, but it was a DNF. But I did love Liars, so, yep. And then this is a spread that I like to do occasionally to sort of document what I've been into lately. I just did this in my other notebook as well. But I was into Well, There's Your Problem, which is a video podcast and just like regular podcast that documents historical engineering disasters, which is very interesting. And then I was really into homemade iced dirty chai lattes, reading after a big slump, and then videos and books by Caitlin Doughty, who is quote unquote the internet's favorite mortician. She's very interesting to listen to and learn from, so highly recommend if that's kind of something you're interested in. And then I can link her channel. I'll link both of these also down below if you're curious about them. This is a spread that Helen does quite a bit, or she did, in her A6 notebook, and so I took this inspiration from her, where you basically just put like a week into a single spread and, you know, write to-do lists or like little things. Like this was the last day, my last day as a 30-year-old down here, and it was my birthday weekend. So I wanted to document the week in that way. I love this spread. This is one of my favorite spreads in this entire notebook. I love the washi, I love the stickers, I love the colors that I use. I used this sort of like timeline, like daily spread quite a bit in my previous notebook. But I don't think I really ever really used it in this notebook, but I did use it on this spread, and you can see I'm not really, like, there's not much going on in my life and I'm grateful for that. After earlier this year where it felt like I was going to Houston every freaking weekend to get medical treatment, like, I'm okay with this. So, moving on, I went with a forest theme for these two spreads because I read The God of the Woods finally, and decided to play off of that. So I used some of this forest washi tape from the Coffee Monsters Co. and some stickers, like leaves and bear paw prints and stuff. And then we have another spread here. That was for a single day, July 9th. And then this is a double spread for Thursday and Friday, right before my birthday. And I went with a breakfast theme that I really liked. I thought it looked really good and cute. And this was my birthday weekend. I turned 31 on a Saturday, and so there was, you know, quite a bit of stuff going on that day for that weekend. And I spent some time reflecting on the last year and, you know, just how grateful I am to have made it to 31 after, again, being like 1 or 2 days from sepsis in February, after what should have been a relatively routine, fine sort of surgery. So lots of thoughts on that, and feeling grateful and, you know, just happy to be here and happy to have celebrated 31 years, you know what I'm saying? And I decided to also document it on this page where I just put some various knickknacks from that weekend. My parents gave me a gift card to Book People, and I included my receipt in here. I know that receipts and like movie stubs and stuff are on like thermal paper. I know that. I just have not gotten to the point where I am like wanting to scan them and then print them off and then put them in here. I need to do that eventually because this will fade or become completely like unreadable. So I know that, but I just have not done that yet. So yeah. And then I got a Blackwell's order in. It was my first one since January. I love Blackwell's because it lets me buy books in the British editions, which sometimes I like those covers more than the American ones, so it's nice to have that option. So yeah, and then this is a double page spread. I will use the weekly like square sheets, I guess, like from the weekly kits from the Coffee Monsters Co. to do this little like box collage here. So that's what I did down there. And I thought this was a really cute spread as well. It doesn't give me a ton of area to write, but sometimes I don't want that. You know, like sometimes I just want to include, you know, a few sentences and call it a day. And that's great. Other days I can write a bit more if I need to, but that's why I love this notebook, to be perfectly honest. It allows me that flexibility. Another book review here for Death at Morning House by Maureen Johnson. And then we got a single day spread here. I did a full day on both pages, and sort of went off of this washi tape, this green color, and implemented that elsewhere. And then I received a birthday gift from my husband's grandma, and I asked for like a taller, like Yeti mug to put my tea in, because I love to just sip on hot tea or warm tea, and that is what she gifted me, which was super sweet, and I love it. I use it all the time, and it came wrapped in this really cool paper, like wrapping paper, and I decided to include that in here just so that I remember it because I really like it. I actually have the rest of it like over there elsewhere in my office because I just can't throw it away. It's so cool. So yeah. And then I finished Mansfield Park. I told y'all, keep note of when I started Mansfield Park. I think it was January 20th. And that's not a reflection on the book. I love the book. I gave it 5 stars. This is the second time I've read Mansfield Park, and I love it. I loved it even more this time around because I annotated it and really like engaged with it in that way, and I love it. I was just in a reading slump for so long that I didn't want to pick it up, and I didn't pick up any book, and that's just how I am. I'm a huge mood reader. So I did finish it though, and it was amazing. I love it. We saw Superman this weekend and went to Barnes & Noble, so I wanted to include that in here. And this is another spread I love because I just love the colors. It reminds me of like the 90s or like early 2000s with kind of the stickers and the colors and stuff. I finished Disney High, which is a really interesting book if you grew up with Disney Channel, as I did. It's a really interesting look at the the rise of Disney Channel as a channel itself, like a TV channel, but also the culture that it created and sort of what went on behind the scenes. Very interesting stuff. I listened to it on audio, and it's narrated by Lelaine, who is Miranda in the Lizzie McGuire TV show. So yeah, very nostalgic, and I did like it quite a bit. Was it my favorite book of all time? No, but I learned from it and I enjoyed it. So yeah, and then I had a little prompt over here that I filled out of what do I need more in my life right now, and that's basically where my head's at for the majority of this year, for the most part. This is another one of my favorite spreads in this notebook. I just love the colors and some of the like word art and stuff that I did. It was my last day of PT, which you'll see up here. It was weird waking up and realizing that, hey, I finished something, and I felt so proud of finishing like 6 weeks of physical therapy, because I have a chronic issue of just not finishing stuff, so it felt so good to finish physical therapy. And then this was when like my hives were really, I have like chronic hives, from mast cell activation syndrome. So I didn't know why I kept breaking out in hives and rashes and stuff. So you might see that in some of these spreads where I'm just like dealing with hives and being freaking itchy, basically. So there's that. And then, on this day, I kind of started off the day just pulling out a notepad and being like, I'm not journaling today, I just need to put stuff on a notepad, which is what I did. And then I was like, you know what, this would make a really cute journal spread. And that's what I did. So this is a Rifle Paper Co. notepad, and I kind of just pasted it in and put some of the other part of it over here as well, and I thought it looked really cute. So kind of a weird situation there, but that's what happened. And then I was sort of writing just some ideas and thoughts over here. And I love this washi tape. It's so cute with ducks and geese and chickens and roosters, all that. And then this was a fun little weekend spread here. I helped my husband put together a collage in his Pokemon binder. P. Terry's, love P. Terry's. We saw Fantastic Four. I made 2 quiches, and this was the little insert that comes with like our eggs that we buy, and it has the bird of the month, Savvy Sydney, go off queen. And that was pretty much it. So I didn't even like write anything in here. I just collaged the weekend, which I really loved to do. This is a fun spread that I did where I had been finding a whole bunch of different fortune cookies around our house, or fortune cookie fortunes. Okay, the fortunes, not the cookies. And I found them in our house. I found them on my desk. I found them on the, like in random drawers. I found them in the car. So I was just like amounting like this pile of them, and I was like, why don't I just put this in my notebook? So I did a little spread here. They all fit perfectly, which was crazy. I had just enough to like fill this space. And I thought it was just a really fun little spread, and it makes me laugh every time I see it, because I'm just like, yeah, all these came from like the most random spots in our house. And like, why do we have cookie fortunes like in these spots? I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, I love that one. This I showed in my previous video, where I was trying to figure out how to add this nightstand into my desk situation for a little bit more storage. And so I was outlining it essentially and sort of including what I would be storing in all of these different aspects of this nightstand, which I really liked. I like to visualize things, I like to write things out, draw things out, and so this was a space for me to do that. Operation Can We Please Figure Out This Freaking Table situation was what it was formerly called. So I love this spread. I love this washi. I cannot remember where I got this washi from, but I love how it changes every 2 inches or so to a different design, and it's so cool. I love it. Anyway, I got a JetPens order recently, or on this day, so I included that in here. And yeah, love that spread. This was a single day over here, and then I wanted to brainstorm a little bit over here. This is basically my process of figuring out what to call all these videos for YouTube, just to have like a series and have them be, you know, part of something larger rather than just like individual videos. And then this was a list of things, of different journals and planners and stuff that I wanted to use in 2026, because I was trying to outline what exactly I wanted for like the Hobonichi launch, which, spoiler, didn't go with any of this. Well, I did go with some of this, but I changed my mind on some of this stuff, so I think you'll see it later in here. And this was the day the Booker Prize long list was released, which is always super exciting. I found another fortune. And then this is a really, this was a pencil that I wanted, or, okay, let me back up. This was a spread dedicated to a mechanical pencil that I wanted for quite some time, and I got a gift card to the little craft place, so I finally bought it, and it's the Leuchtturm mechanical pencil, which I have over here. I'm not going to dig through that right now, but I don't know, there's something about the design of this pencil that I love. The packaging reminds me of a Toblerone bar, which is super fun. Like, I love the packaging, which I included in here, and in the front right there. So I was just writing a little bit about it just to celebrate the fact that I got it, and I love it. It's super fun. So I needed a moment for this mechanical pencil. I think I showed this in my last video as well. This is sort of my podiatrist appointment. That's a picture of the x-ray. And we went to IKEA, and we went to Dunkin', and had a good old time. And then this was the last day of July, and I also wanted to include a little bit of a layout of this commonplace notebook that I'm starting, and sort of like how I wanted to use it, generally speaking. So I wanted to outline that before I actually began the notebook. And then August, we did not try at all for August, unfortunately, but there's August. And then I did show this in my previous video. I showed myself journaling in here and working on this spread along with this part right here. This patient has good vibes. You know it. I got that sticker from my ENT's office. And then some cantaloupe, because I was devouring cantaloupe. I love cantaloupe. This is another summer reading challenge that was through the New York Public Library and the National Book Foundation, I believe. And I wanted to do this so bad, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it. But it's in here, so if they do this again next year, hopefully I'll remember to look it up. I think I did include this in the previous video. This was the weekend in which I was sort of vlogging, and we celebrated National Stationery Store Day with Little Craft Place, which was super fun. We went to Nico's like twice in less than 2 days, which, you know, you just got to do it. Get that baklava. Super, super good. I love Nico's. It's in Houston, by the way. And then here is my 2026 lineup. Spoiler, if you made it this far in the video. You get a little sneak peek. And then I had a Blackwell's order. And then I also won a giveaway from Europa Editions, which was super exciting. So I got this book before it was published. So I wanted to document those things. And then this is another spread in which I used the little squares from the weekly kits, Hobonichi weekly kits, I think, from the Coffee Monsters Co. And this was when it started getting hot. We had a pretty mild summer here in Central Texas, but it started getting hot at this point in time. So I was like, yep, we need the desert scene to commemorate this, I guess, or whatever. And then I posted this spread on my Instagram, and I had been listening to Maren Morris's album Dreamsicle a lot during this time, and I put down this washi because I thought it was super fun and kind of summery. And then I put down the album cover, and I realized they match almost perfectly, which was kind of crazy. Like, the colors match almost perfectly. So I thought that was fun. And then I was having a whole bunch of migraines at this time, so I was doing some I didn't know like a ton about migraines whenever I, at this point in time. So I was doing some research and trying to better understand maybe why they were happening. So that's what this is all about. And I had dreamt about a migraine like as it was happening, but I didn't feel it yet, but my body knew that I was experiencing a migraine. And so like in my dream, I was like holding my face and like sort of like clenching my eyes together as if I had a headache. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, why am I doing this in my dream? And then like a minute later, I woke up with a searing migraine and I was like, oh, that's kind of spooky. So, but apparently it's a thing. So yeah. This is a spread I'm still working on. I bought a vintage jacket and I took it. It's a weird, you can read about this if you want. But basically I think the shoulder pads in the jacket were disintegrating or something. Because it had a really weird smell, so I took it to a seamstress and she's currently like replacing the shoulder pads with a different material so that hopefully it doesn't smell weird anymore. So yeah. September, again, not much happening on that page. This was a fun spread that I did. Yeah, I started a new book on audio. I tried the Dunkin' pumpkin spice latte for the first time, which I was actually pretty impressed with it. You never know how those are gonna taste, but this one was pretty good. And then this was a weekend spread mixed with Friday. So I liked how this one kind of turned out because it was just sort of like an amalgamation of different things, stickers and knickknacks, this tag and stuff. So there's that. You can see here, So Freaking Itchy. That's Story of My Life. Yeah. So that's that spread. It kind of has like a little forest theme to it as well. I love this spread. I thought it ended up looking so cool. Yeah, it's basically like kind of like a school theme chalkboard with these little icons and then the paper right here. I was having like some weird gut stuff and like skin rashes and things happening, so I was thinking maybe this was sort of what was going on. I've dealt with SIBO before in the past, that's why I mentioned it here. So yeah. And then to-do list be damned, I guess, because I did not do much on this day. I don't even know what I did on this day, but I was testing out some different fountain pens that I have, and this one was like super juicy, which you can see there was a lot of shadowing on this page, which is unfortunate because I love how like bold it looks, and I like the general like thickness of the stroke of the fountain pen nib, but a little too juicy for this paper, unfortunately. And I have a recipe down here for some stewed apples. And then this spread was just kind of, I was looking up some music that I wanted to use, and I got a delivery from Austin PBS. It was just like a thank you letter because I ended up signing up to support them monthly and contribute to them. So they sent me a thank you letter. And then I have some book reviews here, Disney Adults and White Nights by Dostoevsky. And I enjoyed both of these quite a bit, so that's always great. This is a ridiculous spread, okay? And I'm like so embarrassed to even like show this on the internet, but I was looking at like a genealogy subreddit page, and people were talking about how one way in which they connect with their community, like one way to get involved with the community, was to join their local chapter of Daughters of the American Revolution. And I thought, hey, that would be an interesting way to do that. And so I do have plenty of ancestry that has that have records in which prove that they were involved in the American Revolution. Okay. But my brain, for some reason, was fixated on my third great-grandfather, who was not in the American Revolution. He was in the Civil War. But I was like fully fixated on the fact that yes, American Revolution. And I literally like submitted my interest into Daughters of the American Revolution and like gave his name and the unit that he served. I'm sorry, it's like, it's so embarrassing. Yeah, no, he fought in the Civil War, not the American Revolution. And the person who probably was reading my like interest like application or whatever was like, oh my god, just like let this girl in, she'll figure it out. So that's why I put just kidding, because I realized it right here. Right here, I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. So anyway, but I did include down here that I'm like, he has a really interesting story behind him and like the family and everything. He fought for the Union in Central Texas. So if you're interested in maybe hearing that story, I can share that later. But this spread is something where I'm just like flipping through and I'm like, oh no, not that spread, because I'm just like so embarrassed about it, but it's fine. That's what happens. I get hyperfixated on stuff and then just completely like parts of what I should be thinking about just go completely out the window. Anyway, moving on. I love this spread. I did place a order for my German Christmas cookies, which I get every single year. And it was a little bit nerve-wracking this year because I didn't know if I would be able to get them, because the company that sells them is called European Deli. I think they're based out of New Jersey. And they like announced that they were closing at the beginning of this year just because of with everything, all the tariffs and various things going on. They weren't able to really sustain the business anymore, which is really sad. But I think they figured something out and they're open again, and they took pre-orders for all of the Lebkuchen cookies, which I go absolutely bananas for. So I stocked up. As you can see here, I spent a little bit of money, but it's worth it. For me, I love them so much. They make me so happy. So I got that in. They should be delivered sometime in November. And then, yeah, so that was that day. And then moving on, we have 2 book reviews. We're almost done, y'all. We're almost done. 2 book reviews here for 2 books that I really enjoyed. And then this was the second to last weekend in September. I thought it was the last weekend, and then I looked and I was like, oh no, we still have another one after this. And yeah. And then we have a single day here for Monday. Had some issues. I had to get a CT scan that day, and the CT scan place was driving me nuts, which you can read about in here if you want. And this was right when I was about to upload my previous video to YouTube, so I was kind of nervous about it and excited, but didn't know like really how it would go. So yeah, we went to Disney World in early September, and they put a one of the like little toy like kiosks where you pay and then you turn the knob and then out pops a little toy. And I love Spy Family, so I wanted the one with Anya, and I got this one, which is so cute, and she reminds me of my niece, and every time I see it I think of my niece, which is a fun little reminder, and she's currently on my bookshelf sitting there. So yeah, and they had this at the Japan Pavilion in Epcot, if you're wondering. So, and then this was when the Booker shortlist was released, and I went with sort of like a black like typewriter theme here. And then I posted my YouTube video on this day, and I put the thumbnail down here, and I was just like, oh my, like, wow, I actually did it. Like, this is crazy. So felt really proud of myself on this day. And then this is when I went to the seamstress, which I mentioned several pages back about my jacket. And she was explaining to me about like what she is doing with some of the jackets that she has, and she pulled out this one jacket. It was Roy Rogers' jacket that someone had bought at auction and was having it basically like the interior redone. And so like my jacket is just casually hanging next to Roy Rogers' jacket at my seamstress office, which is just like bonkers to me. No big deal. And then 2 book reviews right here, one for The Feast and then one for Ripe. I was reading this book in my previous video. And this was a weekend as well. I do have some vlog footage from this, so it'll probably be in a video soon that I'm just gonna be like, here's some random footage. I hope you enjoy. Along with some other stuff too, but it's like so sporadically filmed that hopefully it's not just like super hard to watch, but we'll see. I ended up getting a Bagoo bag, which I bought my first Bagoo bag probably back in like, I don't know if it was college or grad school, but it was like prior to 2018, and they've like blown up since then. So there's a lot of options to pick from, and I got the bowler bag, which is really, it's fun. Sometimes like it gets annoying, but I do like it. I like it quite a bit, which I do show in some of the footage that I captured. So that'll probably be my next video. This weekend we went to Houston, so I brought that. We also went to Nico Nico's again. We went to Barnes & Noble, and then I also got a pretzel jelly cat keychain, like bag charm, which I love. And then I got a JetPens order, and then this is from Austin PBS. They sent me my t-shirt and hat from when I signed up for monthly support, which is awesome. I love it. I was raised on PBS, so I'm very happy to have that and be able to rep them. And then this was the last day of September. And 2 more book reviews for Flights and Clear, which were both like pretty good books. I liked Flights a little bit more than Clear. Very different stories, obviously, but yeah. So that's it. That's the freaking notebook. We are done here. I decided to end with September. This is an area for my swatches. I don't know if I showed y'all this previously, but like clearly, I did not do anything to them, but I will be including some swatching in my next video just to show kind of how I do it, I guess, or like how I organize it. And yeah. So, and yeah, I was gonna say something else, but it doesn't matter. So that is my A6 Pocket Leuchtturm notebook, and this is the 3rd one. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you stuck with it until the end, thank you so much for watching. Include a fun emoji of your choice or something in the comments, just so I know. You know, it's a little secret between you and I. Of why there might be a random like crab emoji, or you know, the weird like goblin emoji or something like that. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. If you saw something that I didn't talk about and you wanted me to talk about, or a sticker or a washi tape or whatever, and you want to know like where it's from, let me know. A lot of what I get is from the Coffee Monsters Co., obviously, but if I miss something, definitely leave me a comment and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And yeah, so we are currently in the new one, and y'all will be seeing this one a bit more. I'm going to try to be a little bit more active on Instagram and post some of my spreads in here or from here. So yeah, again, thank y'all so much for watching. I will see y'all in my next video.